Who are you without the label? Not the role, not the title, not the version of yourself you've been trying so hard to maintain. For so many people, identity gets tied to body image, expectations, old stories, and the way we have learned to see ourselves. But the real transformation begins when we stop fighting ourselves and start reconnecting with who we truly are. Today's conversation is about identity, the first silent war, weight health, self sabotage, and the powerful connection between the brain, the body, and the way we see ourselves.
Welcome to Your Thoughts, Your Reality with Michael Cole, the podcast that shines a compassionate light on the journey of veterans battling through life's challenges. Michael is a dual elite certified neuroencoding specialist in coaching and keynote training presentations, dedicated to guiding military veterans as they navigate the intricate pathways of post-deployment life. Join him as we delve into the profound realm of neuroencoding science, empowering these brave individuals to conquer universal battles, procrastination, self-doubt, fear, and more. Together, let's uncover the strength within you to re-engage with families and society, forging a new path forward.
Yayoi Komiyama is a dual elite neuroencoding specialist, life transformation strategist, brain health trainer, best-selling author, and has a new podcast out. She brings over 20 years of experience in the wellness industry. Through her signature brain-to-belly coaching method, she helps people transform their relationship with food, body image, and self-worth. Her work focuses on rewiring through patterns that create self-sabotage and disconnection. We're going to talk about that today. And of course, Yayoi helps people reconnect with their authentic identity beyond labels, expectations, and old stories. Yayoi, welcome to Your Thoughts, Your Reality. Tell us a little more about yourself.
Oh, thank you for having me today. I'm so excited to be here. And yes, my name is Yayoi Komiyama. I'm the founder of Brain to Belly Coaching. And it's funny that the Brain to Belly coaching came about because I myself struggled a lot with my body image, with who I am. Identity was at the core of all of this, and weight health, all of that. And gosh, I had suffered an eating disorder decades ago at this point, and had gotten over that, and then still struggled with my weight going on back and forth. And then it took me years of personal development, personal growth, really working on myself to find out what was really causing all of that and getting to the root problem of it. The root of it was my identity and who I thought about myself, what I believed about myself.
Okay.
And getting to that really helped me to figure out to maintain a healthy weight. I've been probably at this weight probably for 25 years, probably 27 years at this point. And but it took me a while to figure it out, that it's okay to be here and to really start loving myself and to be okay with who I was, to accept me, as I am.
Absolutely love that. So, let's, I know you, right? We've known each other for multiple years now. I'm throwing the questions already out the window.
Okay, throw them
So
out.
let's just dive in. We're friends. Let's just talk, right?
Yep.
So again, conversation is always the best conversation. So let's go back, if we can, to kind of when you were struggling. And what I want to, tell me about that first of all. What were some of the struggles you were having with that identity that you were living with or believing? I'll even say the BS system, right?
Yeah. Gosh, even as a kid, I had identity issues, right? Because I was living, I was here in the US as a kid. This was back in the 70s. And, Asian families were still kind of rare where I was. And I remember going to school. This was when I was in San Francisco. And I think my sister and I were the only Asian people in our school. It was a private school too, but that maybe had an issue. But so from the onset that you're different, you look different, people treat you differently. And from there, I know also that my sister was the excellent student.
Mm.
She was the athlete. She was this, excellent student, and I was kind of like the supporting role. And I think from there, that identity was always, oh, I'm second best. I'm the supporting role. That came into play, and I had to be, and I was the older sister, so I always had to be the one that was looking after her. I had to promote her, kind of like. And I think that role and that identity made me feel like I couldn't show myself a lot.
Mm.
And also, being different from everyone else, I had to kind of like be the good sister. I had to play all these roles. And I think that really, yeah, made me feel like I couldn't be myself. And when I was myself, I kind of felt like people judged me.
Got it. And I think, another silent war, but I won't get into it. But I think we all deal with that at some point, right? Till we
Right.
don't,
Yeah.
So, and now I'm just going to say something really quick. Yayoi Komiyama is in the Neuroencoding Institute with me and so on. And when there's trainings, Yayoi is the one up there that's always moving, always celebrating. She has no problem living her true identity out though.
Thank you. Well, it took me a while to be here, believe me.
Yeah, absolutely. But you did, right?
Yeah.
So tell me why you think that became an issue with weight and your relationship with food, for that
Yeah,
matter.
because I mean, living a life where you had to play different roles, you had to please everyone. Food became my friend.
Mm.
Food was the one thing that I could rely on, like 100%. It wouldn't talk back to me for one thing, right? Well, it kind of did in that I put the weight on, but it was something that I could take comfort in. And I know that even as a baby, I remember my mom telling me this story. My mom was very busy when I was born because we were in South Africa, of all places, because of my father's job.
Right.
And I think back then it was in the 60s. So, that's when South Africa apartheid was pretty much, prevalent. And my mother was busy because we were the only, I think my father was probably one of the very few Japanese people in South Africa at the time, in Johannesburg. And we had a lot of entertaining to do. My mom had a lot of entertaining to do. People from the bank, with Japanese bank, would come. She would have to
Right.
entertain them, this and that. So she didn't have much time for me. And at the time, we had a nanny who took care of me. And, I would cry because I want my mom, right?
Right.
Naturally, as a baby. And the thing was, they would say, oh, just feed her. Let's give her food because that's probably what she wants, right? To give her comfort. So I associated food with comfort.
Mm.
From a very early age.
Got it. So food comforted you. It didn't talk back. It let you be yourself, and so on. Wow. Yeah. So totally understand that. And I've never really thought about it in those ways before.
Oh.
So I'm glad you're bringing this up. I think it brings a lot of light into the how people will use their past and not even realize it subconsciously.
Yeah. It was kind of like my pacifier, right? In a lot of ways.
Well, it became your support, right?
Yep, totally. And then just going through life, we moved around a lot, of course. I was like I said, was born in South Africa, moved to Japan for about 6 months, and then we were living in the US.
Wow.
And as a kid, I mean, kids are adaptable. They, adjust to whatever. But still, you're like, all this cultural shock is happening, right? You're moving from one place to another. You're not really settled.
Mm-hmm.
And the only constant was food.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, and let me just also add, kids are resilient, but it doesn't mean that those things don't change their subconscious and personalities.
Exactly.
they may still move forward easier than us because we don't have all the they don't have all the baggage yet,
Baggage. Yes. Yes.
right? Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. So it's not that they're not effective, right?
No.
That's,
Yeah.
So can we dive now into your when you started realizing, hey, there's a problem? Let's talk about that. Hey, something's not right here. How did that impact you?
So what really happened was my weight. I started to really gain a lot of weight when we moved back to Japan from the U.S. because that
Okay.
was a big change for me. I was probably like 11 or 12 when you're starting to really develop a personality, a self, your
Mhm.
identity, and it really started to affect me was when we moved back to Japan, and I was I first of all, I didn't wanna go back, of course. I had my life in the US as a
Right.
kid. I had my social groups and all of this, and I was like, "Why do I have to go back?" But, it was my dad's job, so we went back.
And Yayoi, how old were you?
I was 11 or 12.
Okay, thank you.
The very difficult age to go back to, to be thrust into a different culture.
Absolutely.
And yes, I knew the language because my mother was very good about making it a point to only speak Japanese to us when we were at home. I
Mhm.
mean, she said, I could speak, my sister and I would speak to her in English, but she would always come back to us in Japanese.
Right.
And so that helped us at least that we were able to speak the language.
Yeah, that's great.
But the thing was, schooling wise, we were way behind the Japanese school system. So I was more comfortable speaking English, of course, and even reading and writing in English. But we were thrust into the Japanese school system. Like we were told, go into the Japanese school system. So I went to a Japanese public school. And boy, was that like, you know,
I can't even imagine.
yeah, it was like, oh my gosh, girls had to act a certain way, boys had to act a certain way, and I was a tomboy in the US.
Yeah,
So that was like, oh boy, big change. I
yeah.
remember the first day I wore a skirt to school, to the public school, everyone was like, oh, she's wearing a skirt, she's wearing a skirt. Because I would always come in jeans and a shirt, because that was the way I dressed in the US.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. So when you went through all of that, did you notice that's when the weight gained more
Oh
so?
yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Okay.
That's when I started eating more. Um, and because yeah, I didn't have many friends.
Yeah.
So
Because you're home.
food really became the constant.
Yeah.
Um, and I would just eat to feel soothing. It was soothing to me.
Yeah.
And a part of me also felt like I was creating this, I always call it my armor of fat, but it was like a shield that I created to protect myself from being hurt.
Got it.
And that way people can't hurt me, right? Because I wasn't really, I didn't have many friends. I didn't want to feel hurt.
Right.
And that was my way to protect myself.
Absolutely get that. And I think we had Dr. Stephen Crawford on talking about armor a couple of days ago. So I totally get it. And we all build it up to some
Yes.
extent.
Oh,
Problem
yeah.
is we let it take over our lives to where it doesn't serve us anymore, and it actually causes harm, right?
Right.
We,
Right.
but we don't. It takes a lot to realize it and realize that that's the issue. So let's we've been in the darkness, right? Where you were. So let's crack open the light a little bit. When did
Okay.
you realize, hey, I got to make a change, and how did you do that?
So I think when I realized it was still, early on, of course, as a girl. Um, I had transferred to to an all girls Catholic high school, no, junior high school. And it was an international school. So they took me out of public school because they said, well, she probably needs an international, atmosphere,
Right.
probably not acclimating really well with Japanese culture. International school would probably be best for her. So I went there, but it was an all girls school, Catholic. Girls can be really mean, especially
Yes.
when you're heavy.
Yeah.
So I learned then, that I was heavy, and people were not nice about that. And I remember it was during the summer. We went to one of these, gosh, it's kind of like these water parks.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was, of course, my dad took a picture of me in a bathing suit. And
Mm,
oh my gosh, I saw that picture and I freaked.
okay.
Yeah. And of
So,
course, being a girl, you notice all these things.
yeah,
And that was when I started my first diet, probably.
got it.
Yeah.
So it was pain pleasure principle, right? The food wasn't enough to overcome what you saw,
Yeah.
the
And
from the picture. So where did you go from there? I mean, we're going to get into brain to belly in just a second. So did you just do trying a bunch of different diets? Were you successful?
yeah.
What was your relationship with that?
That's where I started my first diet. I think I did. Oh, yeah, I did all these different things. I even did the first Atkins diet, well, that was out there. And I was successful, in losing a good amount of weight from that. At the time, I think well, my height I stopped growing vertically when I was probably when I was probably around 11 or 12. So I'm kind of, let's just say I'm shy of 5 feet.
Okay.
Yeah, on a good day. Maybe when I get up in the morning, maybe I'm 5 feet.
Yes.
And at the time, I think the heaviest I've gotten to was probably about 150 pounds, which
Okay.
was a lot of weight for somebody that's small.
Yeah.
And so I started really, losing the weight and work. My mom was really helpful in helping me stay on a diet. She would cook my lunches for me. She would make the meals for me and help me. And I would start exercising because that's, you read about all these things, exercise. I started running in my backyard, just doing laps in the backyard, right?
Yeah.
And learning how to do that. And then, of course, you learn about a little bit about strength training. And because I was a tomboy, I started doing all these things. And that helped. And of course, eating healthier, learning all of these things. I remember my doctor taking me aside and showing me this book on nutrition and saying, these are carbohydrates, these are proteins. And you have to find, he said, use this book to figure out what you can do so you can have a balanced meal.
Mm.
So he started me off on that, actually. And it was successful. I did lose, I didn't lose like a lot of weight, but I was presentable, right? And I felt comfortable.
You felt good. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So did I guess the next thing is, because a lot of people start diets and they lose weight and they gain it back and or more, right? And so there's the yo-yo effect, if you will. So I'm curious how you broke that.
The yo-yo dieting. Well, over the years, of course, I dieted and got, I would stop, gain it back, but not that much. I would always gain a little bit. And,
Oh,
but I
perfect.
think, yeah, but, having the eating disorder didn't help.
Right.
I had what you call, it was called an exercise bulimic.
Okay.
So it was basically, I used exercise as a way to purge
Mm.
and whatever I ate. So it was really like, you hear marathon runners or some runners saying, oh, I have to run extra because I ate a piece of cake last night or something like that.
Right.
That was my whole life for the
Got it.
longest time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your way to, and I'm going to use my perspective, the way you earned that food was you knew you'd work it off.
Yeah. That's
Yes.
what
Okay.
that's what I was doing. And, that got a little toxic, right?
Of course.
So, and then of course I really was lucky that I got great treatment. I was got a whole team of doctors to help me. I actually went to a clinic, outpatient, but I did go to a clinic to help me deal with all that,
Yeah.
therapist, nutritionist, all of that. And that helped me a lot. But, after that, of course, my weight I got heavier because I didn't really change who I was up here.
Yeah.
I was still sort of that girl that was always struggling to fit in.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
that's what I want to hear about is that when you made the change, right?
Yeah.
Because again, a lot of people deal with not to the extent maybe you did, but I think we can all in our lives, unless you're just born thin and stayed thin naturally your whole life, we've all done this to some extent, right? So what was it that made the switch for you to keep the weight off and have that healthy relationship with food?
I think it was, well, first of all, I lost the weight and I said, I never want to go back to feeling the way I did. And that feeling of it was so painful.
Mhm.
You felt so alone. It was like when I was in the, depth of all of that, I felt like I was in a deep, dark pit, right? Clawing, literally clawing to get up. And I said, I'm never going to do that again to myself. And I think it was also then that I realized that self-respect, that I deserve more love to myself. And that's when I started reading all these self-help books, all this and that really helped me. And there was a author who dealt with eating disorders. Her name was Janine Roth,
Mhm.
and she wrote a book. Was one of the titles of her book was "When You're Hungry, pull up a chair to the refrigerator," or something like that. And it was a really cool book. And I remember reading that and figuring out that she was saying, it's really about who you are, how you start loving yourself. And I think that's when I really started learning all of that and
Well,
started really thinking about who am I? You know, should I treat myself this way? And I
mhm.
remember the phrase, would you say that to your best friend?
Ah,
The things that you say to yourself.
yes.
Because I'd be in front of the mirror and I'd say, look at you, you look so awful. You look like a fat blah, 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 right?
Right.
And I would say all these horrible things to myself. And I remember one of the books, or maybe it was Janine Roth, saying, would you say that? Or therapists, they said to me, would you say that to your best friend
Yeah.
and someone that you truly love and care about? And I
Right.
said, no. And then they're like, well, then why are you saying that to yourself? And that was like, whoa, right? Like,
Total.
yeah, it's like you don't consider that. I mean, I was like, oh my gosh, you're right. Why should I be saying that to myself? Why
Absolutely.
can't I hold myself more as a, you know, more preciously? Because life is so precious. And and then
Well,
I start, yeah.
yeah, I love it. So would you say that was the one of the pivotal points is just really thinking about and leaning into that?
Yes, I think leaning into really having more respect for myself, and for my body,
Mm.
because I remember, thinking, when I had the eating disorder, I was like, this is bad, what? And I remember I was taking Fen-Phen at the time because that was the it drug, kind of like Ozempic is now.
Right.
And I remember I had to stop it because I was scared that it was going to affect my heart.
Mm.
And then I started thinking, what am I doing to my body?
Yeah.
And all the abusive exercise I was doing.
Right. Yeah.
And
Absolutely. So can we talk about um, let's get into brain to belly if we can, because I think we're kind of there.
yeah,
So with brain to belly, tell us the relationship. And again, we're friends, so we've had this conversation. But tell us the relationship with brain and belly.
okay. So, the brain is really our CPU, right? Like I
Mm.
always say, it's like our CPU. It's what runs the whole body. It runs us. And, as neuroencoders, we always go by by the standard of as you think, so you feel, right? So as you think, so you feel, as you feel, so you do, and as you do, so you have. So the think, feel, do, have process.
Yes.
And what you think really affects how you feel about something. So when I was feeling like I was a loser, not losing weight, but loser in other ways, right? I was thinking, I'm a loser. I can't get anything right. Um, I'm not going to amount to anything. those feelings that I created in my heart were like really affecting me. And then, of course, that's going to affect my belly because that's affecting the way that I ate.
Mhm.
Like, why should I? It would be either I ate too much to punish myself, and then I would exercise it off to punish my body doing it and my brain, like saying you're worthless, you need to work this all off, blah blah blah. And I was like, wait a minute, there's this connection here to my heart and to my belly. And that's when I realized, listen, I've got to get this all aligned.
Mhm.
I've got to get this all in check because when something's off, nothing's going to run smoothly. And I remember that's when I started doing Tai Chi.
Mm.
And in Tai Chi, I remember my instructor always saying, think of your body as like garden hoses. You have these energy things going through your body, and they're like garden hoses. If there's a kink in the garden hose and the water's coming in, what happens?
It's jammed up.
Yeah. And I was like, that makes so much sense. And I'm a visual person, so I'm like, got it, got it. And then I started thinking, wait, if so, what I think and what I feel makes me eat and do things, it's the same garden hose principle that I need to keep these all aligned and balanced. And then, with like other thoughts, like even with Buddhism, even nature, everything needs to be aligned
Mhm.
for it to work smoothly. And the garden hose was the best analogy for me because I was like, oh, yeah, that makes so much sense. Of course, water's not going to flow if there's a kink, or it might create a hole in it at some place. And I was like, that makes so much sense. And that really helped me to figure out I have to do the work to get this all aligned.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. So let's move into. We're getting a little low on time.
Hmm.
So, uh, for the person listening right now who feels disconnected from their body, whether it's confidence or sense of self, what is one step they can take today? Because knowledge is great, but nothing changes if there's not an action to it, right? So, what is one step that they can take today to begin really healing that relationship?
I would say become more aware
Mm.
of your thoughts. What are you thinking? If you feel that negative thought, if there's that negative thought going on, reframe it, flip the script. I always say, flip the script, reframe, rewire it.
Yeah.
Because what would, like Dr. Amen, Daniel Amen, who's a
Mm.
brain health specialist, he would say, is it true? Question it. Is what you're thinking really true? Are you really a loser? What is the proof that you are? What is the proof that you aren't?
Mm.
And start focusing on that.
Yeah.
Look into that. And I'd say awareness is the first step. So if you
Well,
catch yourself, say, this is an easy one to do. If you catch yourself saying something negative, say, cancel, cancel, and put in something positive instead. It could be a phrase like, I'm magnificent, or I'm awesome. And
that
even if you don't believe it, just say it because your brain is listening.
absolutely. And let's get a little neuroencoding, shall we? So when you catch yourself, right? What is the thing you would do? Would you? I mean,
If you,
you're creating a scotoma, is what she's
yeah,
doing by saying cancel,
yeah,
cancel. So
yes.
follow through with that and give us an actual physical exercise to not only create a new neural pathway but strengthen it as well.
Yeah, so you would say cancel, cancel, which is when it's in itself is a pattern interrupt. But you can also, if you're sitting down, stand up, do something to change your state that you're in. Um, Even if it's like if you had a negative thought and you were looking down like this, look up,
Yep.
smile. That's another pattern interrupt that you can do to reinforce it. Smile. That interrupts a pattern, and say, I'm magnificent. And by smiling and saying, I'm magnificent, and even just doing this, I'm magnificent, that anchors that feeling of feeling magnificent into your body and into your brain. So the next time you have that negative thought and you catch yourself, smile, do this, and you're like, oh, you know what? I kind of like that. And the brain's going to be like, oh, that felt good. Maybe I'll repeat that. And just, it takes a few times to get used to it and catch yourself doing it, but make an effort to do that. Just that little twist. And that'll make a big difference in how you're going to react to things and how your brain is going to process all of the information that you put into it.
Absolutely love it. And I just want to add to that. When you smile, your brain releases a amazing cocktail of feel good. So the more you do that, the more your brain is actually looking for it in the future to catch itself faster. So I just want to give a little piece of the science there. So absolutely fantastic, Yayoi. So Yayoi, for the people listening who feel connected to your message, what is the best way for them to learn more about your work, follow you, book you or support, what you're building?
Yep. I have a QR code in my background there. You can go there, or you could just go to brain2bellycoaching.com and you'll see, click the button and you can book time with me. I'm also on Facebook in my Brain to Belly community. So everything's Brain to Belly. Or you could Google me, Brain to Belly, Yayoi Komiyama, Brain to Belly, or neuroencoding, and you can find ways to contact me and get in touch with me. I'm also on, LinkedIn. So
okay, perfect. And I want to mention the podcast. So that's not Brain to Belly. So talk about that real quick.
Oh, that's a little different. Yes, it's under the umbrella of Brain to Belly, but it is called I'll Start on Monday. And I just said I have to use this as my, title for my podcast because it started out from my story. The first episode is my story and how I kept on saying, I'm going to start this Monday. I'm going to get over this Monday. I will, start working out, start getting healthy, all of this. It was like next Monday, next Monday, next Monday. It went on for a year. And it was not on a Monday. It was on a Thursday that I finally got the courage to start taking a step to, doing this correctly.
I love it.
So the podcast is really on the topic of I'll Start on Monday because everyone procrastinates. So I have, it's an interview style. I interview different people. Some people are going to talk about their weight health journey as well. And others are going to talk about their journey through procrastination so that they were feeling unstuck, that they were able to get unstuck in what was going up here, that was creating all this chaos up here, and to be able to rewire it and get that garden hose flowing, right?
Absolutely. So check that out, people. Yayoi is fantastic, and when she's talking about all the information, we didn't get into a lot of it today, but she's super knowledgeable and a go-to person for sure. Yayoi, as we know, time is the most precious resource we have as human beings. We can't get it back. So thank you for spending this moment in time to help our mission and make a difference. We really appreciate you being on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. If something in today's conversation resonated with you, don't just move on to the next thing. Sit with it for a minute. And if you know someone who may need to hear this, share this episode with them. You can also join us at yourthoughtsyourreality.com, where we continue these conversations around identity, transition, resilience, and growth. And remember, your thoughts shape your reality. We're out of here.
Thank you for joining us on another insightful journey of Your Thoughts, Your Reality podcast with your host, Michael Cole. We hope the conversation sparked some thoughts that resonate with you. To dive deeper into empowering your thoughts and enhancing your reality, visit empowerperformancestrategies.com. Remember, your thoughts shape your reality, so make them count. Until next time, stay inspired and keep creating the reality you desire. Catch you on the next episode.